Hey friends, it's Gina. Welcome to the Rebookery channel. I'm almost done with my Groovy Girls journals. I have 4 of them and I'm getting ready to bind them and then take pictures of them and list them in my Etsy shop. But before I do that, I wanted to show you guys the inside pages because I'm totally in love with the pages that are going to go in this journal. So let me start with the actual covers. The covers, I have 4 of these, so there's 4 different ones. The covers are books from the Time Life books. It's called This Fabulous Century, and I had 4 of them. And the cool thing about these covers is that they're fabric. And so they have these pretty patterns. So I didn't do anything to the patterns or the fabric other than just kind of clean them up. And then I went in and reinforced the spine with different papers. So like this was tissue paper, and then I put some rickrack. This one I haven't done yet. I still need to. I just hadn't decided what I wanted to do, but this is what the original spine looks like, so I need to finish this one. This one I used some vintage wallpaper and then just some scrapbooking trim that I had. And then this one this one was actually in pretty bad shape, so I had to really reinforce this spine, but I used some drywall tape and then I used some sewing pattern tissue. I painted it and then I used some really fat rickrack. So that's what the covers look like. Then on the inside, I left the end paper that was already there, which was just a coordinating color to the fabric on the front. And then I added some paper to, like I said, reinforce the spine. So this was some handmade paper that I had. This one was some more handmade paper that I had, a pretty pink floral that works well with that yellow. This one is some of that pink floral again. And then the red, white, and blue one, I had some more of that handmade paper from the other one. And so the spine is really reinforced. Then on the insides, there will be 4 signatures. So I have almost all of the pages in the signatures. I have 2 more pages for each of the signatures that are getting ready to go in, and those are the ones I'm going to show you in more detail. But let me just show you one of the signatures. So I took some thick cardstock pattern paper, so it's printed on one side and then it'll be white on the other, and I flip-flop those, stitched down to make it large enough. Then I have a piece of vintage wallpaper from the 1960s, 1970s. And then to reinforce where I'm going to bind it, I just added some decorative tape. Then this is a piece of drawing paper, just plain white drawing paper. It's got a nice tooth to it. And then I added a piece of lightweight scrapbook paper that is patterned on one side and white on the other, and then put a little pocket in, and I stitched it. Then for this page, it is cardstock. So I have pieced 3 different colors of cardstock together and then stitched, and it'll be on both sides, colored on both sides. And then this page, this was kind of my random page that I threw in. I have this gigantic book of birds, and it has the thickest, best paper ever. And then the illustrations are just beautiful. And it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it just was telling me it needed to be in this journal. So I have a page from my bird book in the journal also, so in each of the signatures. So that's a signature. And then flip through this one. This is some flocked wallpaper. And the bird paper. Drawing paper, wallpaper.
And I tried to coordinate the colors so that, like, this was the red, white, and blue book. So I tried to keep the colors. Oh, the bird page. I want to look at that. Oh yeah, the bird. The colors I tried to keep in that kind of a color wheel or color palette. So you know, if you were really drawn to that red, white, and blue on the cover, that you would see the same throughout, and that's flocked again, throughout the rest of the journal. So that's the red, white, and blue. This is the purple and pink. And I followed the same pattern of the types of papers I used. This one was really fun to use the pink colors and to make it really bright. Oh, looks like that needs to be. There we go. Love that bird paper again. And the wallpaper, so I got 2 different types of wallpaper here. And I have used it in my own journals, and it seems to take Sharpies really well. My gel pens, it seems to work really well. It's not like so old that it's falling apart, which I do have some wallpaper that is so old that it's falling apart. It's not like that. It's more pliable. It's not really dry. So this back side, in my personal journals, I was able to, hang on, this one's upside down. I was able to use like colored pencils and stuff on this backside, and even just a little bit of some watercolor, and it held up fine. It actually had a pretty cool little effect. So I didn't back the wallpaper with any paper because I thought you could do some collage or something on this side, and then maybe do some pen work or some possibly light watercolor. But again, this is, you know, wallpaper from 1960s, so it's, you know, 40 years old. So it's not, as I like to say, it's not made by NASA. But, you know, you never know what kind of effect you'll get with some of these vintage papers. So this is the rainbow colored one. In the pocket. And I had fun going through and trying to piece all of these together, and thinking in my mind, what would a journaler, what types of colors, what types of fabrics, what types of patterns would a journaler like in this book? I'm pretty particular about my paper. I don't like my stuff to bleed through to the other side on all of my pages. So like this one, I know that when I use this, I know whatever I put on here, if I write with Sharpie, I know it's going to be back on the other side. But I don't like that to be how all of my papers are. So I try to keep that in mind when I'm making my journals. So I try to put thicker papers in with some thinner papers so that you can mix it up if you wanted to use Sharpie, or if you just wanted to draw with a pencil, or use like some watercolors. I try to mix up the different types of papers, and I try to make sure there's enough thicker papers in there. And so this is the last one. This one is kind of a green colored. This book actually was in pretty bad shape. So I had to do a lot of repair on the spine of this book. So it's kind of stiff right now when I go to open it. And that's just because of all the glue and the reinforcing I had to do. Which, you know, that just kind of gives it some character. It kind of crackles when you open it up. And if that doesn't bother you, then this might be a type of journal that you would like. So I tried to keep muted, more earthy, serious type of colors in this one. Pulling out some of my favorite scrapbook papers. By the way, I love this wallpaper. pulling out some of my favorite scrapbook papers, mixing and matching the different lines of scrapbook papers that I have, and then using some of my vintage papers. So that's the basic setup of the journals. But then I added some pages from the actual Time Life books, and this is where it gets exciting. This is what I love. So I went through let's see, I had 4 different versions. It was like 20s and 30s, 40s and 50s, and so I found the 60s to 70s book, and I pulled out some images from the 60s and 70s, and then just kind of went from there. So all of these pages are backed with another paper. This happens to be backed with some of my embroidery patterns, and then I've mirrored it with another paper. It might be something from that book, or it might be something like this is one of my calendar pages. So I'll just flip through the pages that I have. There was a lot of science pages that I liked, a lot of space, so I put those in. A lot of images of models at the time. I pulled out some of my Peanuts Gang dictionary pages and thought they looked really kind of that time period, and so I threw some of those in. Threw in some vintage map pieces also. And some of these are some political pages, and I was okay with that. I kind of liked it because the 60s, they were a really political time. So some of these pages do have a theme of politics on it, and like this one, love this. And so I just thought that was just a beautiful picture to include in this journal that you could add stuff to, or cover it up if you didn't want to keep the image. This is probably my favorite one. This was a picture in the book of all of these different political statement badges, and then some pictures of Woodstock and just the whole protesting, marching type of hippie thing that was going on during that time period. So I included that. The Black Rights Movement, I included a lot of pictures of that in the protests that went on. Love this card. This is a 1981 General Mills playing cards, so the General Mills cereal. So I found these at a thrift store, and so I included a couple of those in the book. Included some of the fashion from that time period. This was a larger picture of a love-in Manhattan, and so I just clipped out the people and just kept it with the words that were written on the wall. I liked the black and white effect. Of course, the Beatles, and again, more space. So the last set of pages that I'm going to add to the journals are from the McCall's dress pattern book that I have. It's a 1973, and it has illustrations, and then it also has actual photographs. And I used these same images in my original Groovy journal, and I liked how I was able to piece them together, so I did it again. So what I have done is taken the McCall's pattern page, I have backed it with a transparent piece of tracing paper or drafting paper, and then pieced the side over here with notebook paper, glued it all together, stitched, and made a little bit of a pocket on the back side. So I'll run through and show you these. So I tried to do a mix of the illustrations and also some actual photographs. So I have half of these are illustrations from the McCall's pattern book, and the other half are actual photographs of people. And the reason why I like the tracing paper is because it kind of gives you a little bit of a blank slate, but it still lets that image peek through. So if you wanted to journal over it and still have a nice background, you could. If you wanted to practice drawing and use the tracing paper to actually draw the images that are coming through, that would be a great tool to help improve your drawing skills. And I just like the kind of muted or faded feel that it gives the backside of the paper, so that you don't have those harsh colors, especially with these photographs. And then you can add your own color or own pen work, own collage to it. So what my plan is to finish filming this, get my pictures all taken, stitch the books together, and get them listed on Etsy. As soon as I do that, I will post on Instagram, and then I will also update the link on this video so that you can see the journals as soon as I get them listed. So thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below, and have a great day.